No one had the courage to come out and make statements like these. Everybody just said, "Oh, Ice-T and Body Count, you have the right to say it. We love you guys, really." I tried to make it painfully clear. I said if cops were totally legitimate organization, I might even be a cop. I never said I agreed with crime. But I am saying that when you guys step over the boundaries and you decided to pass judgment, then fuck you. During the same time my record was being condemned, the film Unforgiven was winning critical praise across this country. What's Unforgiven about? A cop killer. Clint Eastwood takes justice into his own hands after his buddy, a black man, is unjustly murdered by a corrupt cop. Sound familiar? What's Cop Killer about? A black youth takes justice into his own hands after his buddies are unjustly murdered by corrupt cops, just like Eastwood. I'm saying, fuck the police for my dead homies, but my story is real. But I'll never get an award for my reenactment of this situation. I know firsthand how bad the street is. America is simply not ready to hear it from me. After the cops called this embargo against Warner Brothers, they moved into criminal activity. They sent death threats to Warner Brothers. They actually sent 2 bombs to the label. These came either from police or police sympathizers. There is no way I can prove that the bombs came from the police, but they did make death threats. They made death threats to the president of Warner Brothers, Lenny Waronker. Do you know where your kids are? Somebody went to my 15-year-old daughter's high school and pulled her out of her class and asked her questions about me. I mean, real tacky shit. These are supposed to be the people who are upholding justice. It irritated me that none of the attacks were really aimed at me. I was watching the TV and it's all Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers. You can read any paper and you'll never find anybody who said, where does Ice-T get the anger to make the record? The cops never accused me of faking the anger. They knew it was real. They were just saying, why would you, Warner Brothers, put it on a record? Ultimately, the guards of the system said to Time Warner Brothers, we understand why you're mad, Ice-T, but why would the big white corporation, who's a member of the same country club as us, whose kids go to spring break with our kids, who support the same politicians we do, associate with them niggas? Warner Brothers responded that they cannot afford to have cops controlling the company and decided to back me. They didn't back me because they cared about me. Warner Brothers is an information company and they cannot be told what they can or cannot do. What happens if they don't like another Ice-T record? What happens if they don't like a movie Warner puts out? They were totally paranoid of paying off for the hostages, paying the extortionists, the police. Meanwhile, I get to the point where I'm getting tired of seeing myself on the news every night. Media got personal with me. I was tired of this shit. It wasn't worth it because nobody had a voice that was backing me on the real reason. Ironically, 35,000 black police officers said they would not join in with any boycott of Ice-T or Time Warner because they knew I was just saying the truth. Since July, hundreds of cops have came up to me saying, Ice, I know what that record was about. I've had cops come up to me and say, Ice, I feel like killing some of the guys I work with. Others say, we ain't all bad, Ice. That means a lot to me. Even the thought they would think that I'm worthy of being spoken to is cool. They care that I care. Nobody came to me and asked me to pull the record. The guys in my group didn't even know I was going to do it. I called a meeting with Body Count and said, man, this record is out of control. They're going over the top with it and ain't nobody really down with it but us. Our fans who wanted the record have already bought the album. It's gold. All the new people who are buying the record just looky-loo assholes. That's not why we want to sell records, so let's just pull the motherfucking record. Now it's gone. Now what? In other words, come out and say that you really don't like Ice-T. It had become a chess game, and they shut up. The minute I pulled it, cops killed a kid in Texas who was 30 feet away from him. Cops killed a kid in Detroit. People are marching. Ice-T was right. Everything flips now. During this period, I also faced a backlash. After I pulled the record, people started jumping off on me and saying, you shouldn't have pulled the record. They said it was a sign of weakness. I didn't give a fuck. Ice Cube told reporters on MTV, I'm not qualified to tell Ice-T what to do. Cube's basically saying, I got respect for Ice. And Chuck D made the best comment to Kurt Loder out of everybody. He said, those who aren't in the war should never comment on the battle. The next heated element of the controversy was predictable. Did Warner Brothers ask me to pull the record? The answer to that is no. Warner Brothers has defended artistic freedom since the beginning. Warner Brothers is the #1 hated label by the Parents Music Resource Center. They've been fighting Tipper Gore for years. They put out everyone from Sam Kinison to Slayer, from Andrew Dice Clay to Prince and Madonna. They never shied away from controversial music. They put out every one of my records without censoring them. But they got hit with the establishment's vibes. The cops very wisely moved on Time Warner, which is the parent company of Warner Records, and 20 times bigger than the label. Time Warner was not only attacked from the outside, they were attacked from within. The politicians and the cops managed to get Charlton Heston and people within Time Warner shareholders to side with them. Tactical infiltration, pure and simple. Time Warner had people on the inside who had never listened to my music and had no understanding of where I was coming from, saying, "Look at what we're selling. This is our money being threatened, and I don't agree with this." I had met with Lenny Waronker, and he said he felt Heston did a terrible thing at the shareholders meeting. Lenny told me that Heston's attack on my music was like saying, "Fuck you," in the face of all the Warner Brothers executives. He said Heston's attack on the creative process was wrong, pure and simple. It was some real ill shit. They had Warner Brothers by the balls. The cops had won. Warner Brothers said the controversy cost them in the area of $150 million. I don't ever know if they have regained that money. The police groups pulled a lot of their pension fund money out of Time Warner's stock, and they caused people to panic. In the meantime, we go out on tour, and I run into these new boycotts out on the road. These cops are threatening the club owners, saying they'll shut them down if they let us play. People were shocked. God damn, didn't they just want you to pull the record? You pulled the record, now they're still fucking with you. I never apologized to the police, and I refuse to apologize. The only concession I'll make is to the honest cops who misunderstood the records and took it as a blatant attack on all police officers, which it is not. It's directed at your criminal partner, the one you got to deal with. It's his record. When we finished my next album, Home Invasion, for a November 15, 1992 release, Warner Brothers was biting his nails. Warner Brothers had the album reviewed by a crisis attorney, the same attorney who reviewed The Last Temptation of Christ. This was the first work I've put out since Cop Killer Drama, so he listens to the record and he finds a few places where the album he decides will cause problems. References the cops here and there. I knew they were going to ask me to change my lyrics, something they had not done before. So before they could tell me to change them, I gave them a new idea. You guys look worried. I ain't trying to get y'all in trouble, but I ain't trying to change my record neither. So why don't we ask ourselves why they're after us? Are they after you, or are they after me? Or is this some political shit, the timing of the record release? Let's wait till after the presidential election. Now I'm playing record executive here. Let things cool down. We have Cube's album coming out. We have Dre's album coming out. Paris. You got all this other toxic material coming out. Let them hit and let's just see what happens. Warner Brothers was off the hook, breathing easy. So we wait. Nothing happens. Now the new release date is February 14th. Now the date's here and everything is cool. They haven't decided to change any of the words. We got beyond that. But they did come at me with one song that worried them, Ricochet. The song starts out, "You go on and you don't stop. Got sticky sneakers from the blood of a shot cop." I explained to them that the record was already out. Ricochet was the title song to a movie I'd been in with Denzel Washington and John Lithgow. They wouldn't fuck with that, I told them. They might, they said. They weren't angry at me or my music. It was simply a paranoid reaction on their part. I decided that Ricochet was already out on a soundtrack and a single, and it sold well. It was already an old song. Fine, I'll drop it. I'll create a new song rather than fight over an old record that's already been out. I'm working with them. I'm Mr. Calm. Although they had already approved Home Invasion's cover art, we got a phone call a week before the album was scheduled to drop. You can't have that album cover. I was still on the road. I'm pissed. I love the album cover, but fuck it. At this point, I want my record out. I told him to put the album out with a black cover. It'll be the black album. Fuck it. Just put the album out there. But when I got back to L.A., I realized fully and for the first time Warner Brothers cannot afford to be in the business of black rage. So we wrote them a letter asking to get out of my contract. As much as they felt I had become a liability to them, they in effect had become a liability to me. In my attempts to keep them out of trouble, my integrity had come under fire. They gave me a release. I know it hurt a lot of people because Seymour Stein signed me 7 years ago and watched me grow. I had sold a lot of records for him, and I would have given him 4 more. And now, out of nowhere, he has to release one of his main artists. Remember, they weren't mad at me. They were just pissed at the entire situation. We were essentially 2 kids who couldn't play together anymore. Now, through Rhyme Syndicate Records, we're going to do it ourselves. I will once again attempt to speak freely. I will have to prepare for any further attacks. Throughout my career, I've learned that you don't talk the talk if you can't walk the walk. Don't expect to be controversial and not suffer the ramifications of it. In my new song, A Message to the Soldier, I rap, you might think that you're just dope while you're living in a sniper's scope. Not trying to scare you, but there's danger if you get too deep. Some nights I don't sleep. Freedom of speech. Yeah, just watch what you say.